Hey everybody, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you might be joining us from in the world today. My name is Meg Alexander, and I am, as always, honored and excited to get to host another Power to Fly Chat and Learn virtual event. Now, today we're going to be talking about life in the fast lane, navigating work-life balance at Varicent. Before we dive into questions, though, and get started with our event today, I just want to say hello and welcome to anyone who might just now be joining us. We're so happy to meet you. Now, if you are joining us, and this is your first Power to Fly event, first off, hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. The one thing I want to show y'all, whether you are new people or returners here, is our code of conduct. It's a big wall of legalese, but basically it boils down to just don't be a jerk, okay? Operate from a place of kindness and respect, and it's pretty hard to go wrong from there. If you got questions on this or you need want more details, please feel free to reach out. You can either DM me in this event or you can email our hi at inbox, hi at powertofly.com. All right, now this is going to give you some lay of the land, a little bit of rules, general housekeeping for how today's event is going to run. Hopefully, today will be one of the more fun virtual events that you've joined. But in order to make that happen, I really encourage participation. If you would like to, you are always welcome to turn your cameras on, share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely. But truly, y'all, there is no need to be Instagram perfect, okay? Just because I got real fancy and washed my hair yesterday does not mean you can't bring us your living room, like take us to your kitchen tables. We don't care whether you are joining us in a three-piece suit or in your bathrobe. It makes no difference to us. We just want to meet you where you are. Now, if you do want to turn your cameras on, like I said, please feel free, have fun. If you don't want to, that's okay too. You can always participate without having to go into the visual arena. You're always welcome to chime in the group chat as well. In fact, I've got links that I'll be sharing here as we go. But please feel free, y'all. Let us know where you're joining us from. I'm coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that belonged to the Fox, Kickapoo, and Potawatomi tribes in my area. So if you would like to share where you're dialing in from, or if you know whose land you're on, then feel free. Now, we are recording today's session. What that means for all of you is you don't have to take notes. You get to relax, enjoy the conversation that I'm about to have with some of the great crew from Varicent, and not have to worry if you missed a resource or a reference that was listed. Don't have to worry about any of that. Now, what's going to happen is, yes, we're live streaming to YouTube right now. Hi, YouTube. But everybody who registered for today's event is going to get an email from Powerfly in about 4 to 5 business days. And that email is going to have a link to where you can rewatch this recording when we post it on powertofly.com. Now, if you are watching via YouTube, maybe you're just a strong YouTuber. Maybe that is the method you prefer to ingest content like this. If that's the case, then I very much encourage you to check out and follow our YouTube channel. We are at Powerfly on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, sorry, Instagram, and I don't think we're on TikTok yet. But everybody's going to get a link to where, once we post this on Power to Fly, there's a ton of our like kind of greatest hits in our YouTube channel as well. So that's really awesome. But I very much recommend that you check out the Power to Fly website. That is where the full value of all of our resources is, all of this free stuff that we want to put in all of your hands. So please feel free to check it out wherever you would like to view the recording. All right, now, as we go through the event, please feel free to navigate the chat, interact with your fellow attendees. Like I said, just make sure we are driving from a place of kindness and respect. Now, I'm very excited to introduce y'all to Varicent today. Now, Varicent is new to Power to Fly, or sorry, not new to Power to Fly. They're new to me. I had not gotten a chance to work with them yet, but I was very excited to. In case y'all don't necessarily have name recognition with Varicent or who they are, Varicent has been named a leader in the Forrester Wave Sales Performance Management Solutions for Incentive Compensation Q1 2025. Now, Varicent was founded in 2005 when they pioneered sales performance management software. They've evolved quickly to become the fastest growing software company in North America, according to Deloitte's Fast 50 in 2010. And Varicent was acquired by IBM in 2012 and has since been refounded as an independent global business serving mid-size and enterprise clients with their full suite of solutions. Now, I'm very excited to dig in deeper with the team from Varicent, but if at any point anything that we're saying about Varicent really, kind of piques your interest, I very, very much encourage you to head over to Varicent's company page on powertofly.com. Like I said, I'll keep sharing links for this in the chat thread as we go, so give me a minute and I'll start sharing stuff. But this is what their company page looks like here. Now, from this company page, you can find a lot of great things. Overview, about, and company insights are going to give you more intel about who the company is. Events obviously is going to take you to recordings like today, or registration pages for future events like this. And then there's always the jobs tab, obviously, where you can go and search directly for great roles working with Varicent. Now, I'm going to tell y'all a little bit more about this company page later on and some of the ways it can help you in your job search. So if you are interested in Varicent or just making the most out of Power to Fly because you're job hunting, hang around till the end of the event and I'll give you some extra tips. So, as we go through, I'm very excited to bring up to the stage our amazing panel from Varicent. So first up, we have Sophie Watson. Now, Sophie is a customer success manager at Varicent. She's got 4 years of experience in the tech field and over 10 years in sales and customer success. Now, Sophie is dedicated to helping clients maximize value and drive positive business outcomes. With a diverse background spanning B2C and B2B sales, finance, and recruitment, Sophie excels at building strong relationships and delivering strategic solutions. She's passionate about customer success and thrives on solving challenges to create a meaningful impact. Sophie, welcome to the stage. We're so happy to meet you today. Would you tell our audience members where you're based, how long, we know how long you've been at Varicent, and then some sort of fun fact about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. It's so lovely to have you here. So I am based in Edinburgh, Scotland, in case you couldn't tell. Um, and my fun fact for today is I have recently just got into reading a lot of fantasy novels. So if anyone has any really good recommendations, I would really appreciate that because I am dipping my toe in and I love a good recommendation.
Okay, what's the last good fantasy book you read? Like, what was one that you were like, this is it, I love this?
Um, I think probably look, I've always been a big Hobbit fan, but like the original book.
Yeah, yeah,
So that is like probably a staple for me.
yeah.
Uh
Okay, okay.
and newer ones, I want to get into newer ones. So I really need recommendations for new fantasy books.
I love that. Okay. Well, I'm part of the ACOTAR fandom and have been for like 10 years now, seven, something like that. So it's pretty gross. But if you're not into spice, Throne of Glass is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It takes forever. It is epic, but it is worth it. It's the whole story is beautiful. So
Awesome.
that's my toss in the pot there. If y'all have suggestions for Sophie though, throw them in the chat. I want to know what y'all are reading. All right. So joining Sophie on stage, we are going to have Jamila Baksh. Now, Jamila, let me bring you up here. Nice, there we go. Jamila is a talent enablement manager at Varicent. She's been in HR for 10 years within the talent space and has partnered with organizations and leaders to design, implement, and manage talent management programs, projects, systems, as well as change initiatives. Now, with experience across regional, national, and global workforces across various sectors, Jamila brings a strategic, adaptable, and inclusive approach to supporting employees and organizations. Jamila, I'm so happy to bring you to the stage today. What else would you like our audience to know about you?
Hi, Meg. Thanks so much for having me. So excited to join everybody here. I guess I should give my location and fun facts. So I'm in Ontario, Canada, in the Greater Toronto area, and I've been with Vericent for about a year, just about a year and a half now. And fun fact about me is I'm a very clumsy person, and I have a scar on every part of my body on the right side, all different occasions, not from one.
That is skill. And this is coming from somebody who is also incredibly accident prone. I bruise like a peach, and it's constantly like, where did that come from? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But no, that is, oh my goodness. Love this. I love the fun facts. Thank you, Jamila.
Thanks,
All
Meg.
right. Joining Jamila and Sophie on stage, we have the incomparable Will Yee. So, Will, let me move you up in here. Will is the director of customer success, strategic. He lives in Cincinnati, Ohio, with his wife of 15 years, Jenna, as well as their 9-year-old daughter, Quinn, 4-year-old son, Keegan. Now, Will is the youngest of five and is very close with all his siblings and family. He's a supporter of the Cincinnati Reds baseball team. I'm sorry. The Bengals football team. I'm sorry, and FC Cincinnati Soccer Club. They're doing fine. You'll be good. Will Yee has over 25 years of experience in technology with Varicent, as well as working for Microsoft, EG America, Kroger, Hewlett Packard, as well as Procter and Gamble. Will, what else should our audience know about you today?
Well, you've already called out our sports teams in Cincinnati, Meg. So there's not really much else to say about that. But I am in Cincinnati, Ohio. Been with Varicent for just under a year. And my fun fact is that about 15 years ago, my wife and I were on one of those DIY shows. So the ones where they come and do a home makeover, they came and did our landscaping, new paver walkway, new trees, flowers, all of that stuff. So that was a fun fact. That was a really enjoyable experience. There's one interesting thing that people don't always realize is that since it's from the point of view of the street, they only painted the front of the house. So we had to paint the rest of the house on our own dime, like a month
Shut
after the
up.
show, after they shot
No,
the show. Yeah.
no.
Yep. Only the
Okay,
front.
you have to name drop. Was it curb appeal?
It was not.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, now I've got to go back to the drawing board. But God, you don't even know. One of my friends is obsessed with those shows. I'm going to ask her if she's seen you because I guarantee you she's going to be like, that one. And they painted their house. But this is her thing. Like some people are into football. This is her thing. So I'm going to have to ask her.
We'll see.
Wow, that's awesome. Oh my God. I can't. I'm sorry. I, I'm not going to be able to think about a lot of things. Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, as we go through here, I do want to bring all of our panelists up on stage so that we can start kind of diving into questions here. So let's bring y'all up. One of the first questions that I thought was kind of would help us to level set is people had questions about boundary setting, right? We're talking entirely about work-life balance here. And I think a lot of us know that sometimes it's a balance and sometimes it's more of an integration. So let's talk about this. How do each of you effectively set boundaries between your work and your personal life, especially when working remotely? Jamila, do you want to start us off here?
Sure, I'd love to. So for me, I think I actually don't use the word boundaries when I'm thinking about like people and setting it between work and home. I use expectations because I feel like you can set boundaries for yourself, but you can't really control other people or work. So I think expectations opens a conversation. So whether I'm dealing with my loved ones or I'm dealing with my colleagues at work, who are my loved coworkers, I want to set expectations, like understand what do they need from me, and then set expectations about what I can deliver in that time frame. So for me, I think having those conversations are really important because when you say I'm setting a boundary, it's like, okay, we can't talk about this. It's not open to dialogue. Whereas we say, okay, what's your expectation? This is my expectation. We can have a conversation and then we're more able to find an equilibrium. At least that's what I do for myself.
Every time, the whole time you were talking, all I could picture was Ariana Grande in Wicked going, yes, like absolutely, like if I have to say this one more time, I think I probably will scream, but I know I'm going to say it 1,000 times in my life. Boundaries govern your behavior, not someone else's. Boundaries are, this is a boundary. This is not something I'm not comfortable crossing. If this boundary is crossed, then I will do fill in the blank. Leave, barf, I don't know, whatever you decided your boundary is. So, like that's the thing is I love this as an expectation instead of boundaries because you're right. They're my therapist would be screaming to hear us talk about boundaries controlling other people. So I love this. Love, love, love. Okay. Sophie, do you want to chime in here? What does this work-life balance, what does this look like for you and how do you maintain it?
Yeah, for sure. I think on a practical level, I try and make sure that I have time before I ever start work. Because I think the trap I've fallen into before is, especially if I have a work phone, is just waking up, checking all of my work stuff immediately whilst in my bed. And the penny kind of dropped for me one day, and I was like, this is not. This is this is not where I want to work, like in my bed, laying down in my pajamas. So I started to make sure I gave myself a few hours in the morning. I go for a walk, which my mother has been telling me for 28 years to go for a walk, it'll clear your mind. And I always thought, "Ah, walking, come on now." But actually,
All
she
I'm
was
doing is moving.
completely
How is it
right.
gonna, why are they
She was
always right?
completely right, and I take back anything I ever said. So definitely that, and it just reminds you that you don't need to sort of immediately panic upon waking in your life. Um, and then aside from that, I try and create a boundary for myself. I know we were just talking about boundaries, but I'm just using it in a different context. Because I work in customer success, you could work all the time. Like you could. There's always something to do. There's always someone calling you. And it is actually quite difficult, especially when you enjoy your job, to kind of say, no, I don't want to do that, or I can't do it right now. So I've tried to create times in my day where I know I definitely will not work at that time. So straight off the bat, eating's out the window, like anything like that. And I try not to check any of my work stuff 30 minutes before I work. And then when I'm done at the weekend, I once I have to set a goal in my brain. After I complete this thing, I will be done. And then I shut it off, don't interact with it. I am no longer at work. So just a couple of practical things, but it's working for me.
It's honestly, it, I don't know about you. I got real frustrated through most of 20 and 21 with the amount of things that I was learning from TikTok because like we couldn't have talked about this in grade school. Why did we learn square dancing instead of talking? You know what I mean? Like, so it was just like ridiculous stuff. And so I've gotten at least a little bit used to the idea of, remember that simple thing they told you to do and you didn't do it? It works because that's why they told you to do it. So stop being a dummy and do the simple thing, right? And that is that going for a walk is a huge one. It's absolutely massive.
Yeah.
When I first started working from home, this is what I did. I would fake a commute. So I would come downstairs, I would put on shoes, I'd put on my coat, I put on everything, and then I would literally go one loop around the block. Because I didn't want to go out. It was too cold, it was just gross, whatever. Like one loop around the block, that I can do. And it was enough for my brain to be like, oh, okay, it's time to start work. The
Mhm.
mistake I made was not also duplicating a commute on the way home
We home.
because by doing that, I like bookended my day and it made it so much harder for me to then think like, well, I'll just get on my laptop after dinner and send that one thing. It'll be fine. It's like, no, I don't need to do this. Like we did not used to be as reachable and we had slightly better mental health. So I'm just saying maybe this is something, with limitations that kind is good. I
Yeah.
love your tips there, Sophie. Will, how do you feel about this? Or is there anything that's really worked for you to help support boundaries or help you even to set them?
Yeah, so it's challenging, right? To say the least. Uh, I really love what Sophie and Jamila were just saying, this separation between boundaries and expectations. One thing that I always tell people is, and especially my kids, is life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So when you talk about boundaries are something that you own and expectations are something you set with other people, I really love how that kind of aligns with that. I do the virtual commute too, and Windows actually does it for me. Like I block off in the morning, I take my kids to school, it's out of office, like it is a virtual commute, and I block off in the evenings when I have things. You've got to figure out what's really important, right? I've got my kids' practices blocked off on my calendar. I've got things like that. When I first started working from home about 25 years ago, it was really hard because every time you walked by your office, you thought about something you needed to do. So you find yourself in there at 11 p.m. You find yourself in there whenever, and then you just can't stop. So you've got to be very deliberate with how you set your own boundaries and how you block off your own time. I also turned my alerts off for like Slack and Outlook for after hours in the weekend. So if somebody really needs to get a hold of me, they know how to reach me, but I'm not going to get pinged every 5 minutes with something that's going on. So I try to use those tools to kind of set boundaries and then just make sure I'm focusing on what I really find to be the most important.
I like that. I think that's a good way to look at it. I tend to do the same thing. I block off like, especially I make sure I block off like my therapy appointments in my calendar because like some of them are telehealth, so I go onto my couch and I don't need the travel time, but others aren't. And so I have found that without feeling like I'm oversharing, because I don't care. I'll just tell you, like, yeah, I gotta go see my therapist later. Julie and I are gonna talk. Everything's great. But like I don't mind putting those things out there. And I have found it makes people far less likely to try and pull me into stuff after hours or something, like not like an emergency situation, but like if somebody knows, like, oh yeah, like Will has it booked on his calendar, he can't meet for the next 30 minutes because he's gonna go be with his kids. You're far less likely to be like, it can't be that important. Just call it. Just ping him and see if he can join us. So I very much appreciate that, like, a lot of this is on the person, right? It's on the individual to like decide where you want those boundaries to be and then to set them and maintain them. But I think that when you're being pretty transparent about like, yeah, I'm just trying to protect my work-life balance, people understand that. And with you talking about it, it also makes them more likely to follow in your footsteps, do the same thing. And then we're all respecting everybody's off the clock time. You know, I like this. I think this is good. Good tips here. Okay, let's talk about burnout. Burnout is something that can take, I think most people don't really think about this, but burnout can take like 3 to 5 years to recover from, depending on how hard you crash when you do it. How do you personally recharge and prevent burnout in your role at Varicent? Well, let's start with you, and then we'll go kind of bounce around.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's kind of playing on what we just talked about with boundaries, right? And making sure that you unplug. So it used to be really easy to unplug, like especially if you were traveling, you went somewhere where you didn't have a cell signal and you didn't have internet. Well, now you can't get away from it. So again, it's all about being deliberate, about making sure that you're unplugging. It is easier sometimes to work when you're trying to unplug, but you've got to figure out when it makes the most sense, right? And it should be the exception and not the rule. Some people can't stop. Maybe that's what drives you, maybe that's what really makes you happy, but a lot of people, it just kind of makes them burn out more. So I think it's really important to make sure that you are, again, deliberate in making sure that you are disconnecting, separating yourself, doing whatever it is that's different for everybody, that really helps you and makes you happy and kind of fills your cup.
Yeah. I had the same thing. Because I'm freelance and because I get to host this and I love my job. So like Sophie said, when you love what you do, it's a lot easier to kind of get like sucked in on time when you're not supposed to be there. Up until January, I had not taken a vacation from Power to Fly in I don't know how long. And every time, like, it's not to say I didn't go places. I traveled to France last year with my husband for a week, but I took my laptop. I worked when I was there. I did this, I did that. And so last month we went on a family vacation and I did not take my laptop. And it was kind of unreal how much of a shift it was, especially since like I would maybe have to host like 2 events during the entire week. But it was the
Mm,
fact that like my whole brain was not in work mode. I was able to actually recharge either with my family, enjoy, time with my niece. And I don't think I really realized until that event, like until that vacation, how much I had probably been kind of chipping away at the efficacy of past vacations. Sophie, you're nodding a ton. What is it for you? Like, what does it look like when you're trying to prevent that burnout? Does it look like a lot of forward planning for you? Like, what does this look like?
Yeah, for sure. So the way I used to approach this as a stress reliever, because I'm quite an introvert, is I would just retreat. So I wouldn't do anything. So I would just go home, go have a nap, and then just never do anything. And then someone gave me possibly the best advice I've ever had work-wise, which is that to prevent burnout, you should do more, you shouldn't do less. You should do more of the things you love to do. So rather than sort of completely unplugging and just going, okay, now I can't do anything because I need to like recharge from what I've just been doing.
Like
No,
you're
I
in
need
stasis or something?
literally, but that's how I felt. I felt it was the only way to fix like, everything I've been thinking about, blah, blah, blah. But actually the opposite was true, which was that once I actively started to say, no, I'm gonna go to a book event like on Tuesday night because I can and I should and I would enjoy it. That's when my enjoyment of my own life got a lot better, but nothing had actually changed, just the decision and the sort of care for myself that, I deserve to have things that I really love and want too, as well as, going to work and blah, blah, blah. And it's really made a huge impact on me. And then that kind of snowballs. So then you start to think, what else could I do that I would really enjoy? And you are doing way more. Like my life is way bigger than it ever was before, but I'm enjoying all of it more because I have integrated everything as opposed to sort of, okay, I need to go do my job and then I'm just gonna go to sleep.
Yeah. No, I
So
think you're right. That's the idea of like recharging. I think a lot of us think about it in terms of like, well, yeah, I have to go to sleep or I go sit and I just rest. And it's like, no, that's not the thing. And I don't know about you, but even when I'm like not doing anything, I'm still doom scrolling. So, it's one of those things where like, oh, I'm resting. You're not. You're just looking at all the angry opinions of 400 billion people you'll never meet. Why are we doing this? So I think you're right. It's when we're thinking about recharging, we can't think of it in terms of like you plug your phone in, you set it on your nightstand, and then you recharge in the morning and everything's great. It's like, no, you got to do the things that light you up because otherwise there's nothing. Like you can't work harder and make yourself feel better. So now I'm going to go recharge. It's like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
Jamila, how about you? When it comes to trying to prevent burnout, what does that look like for you?
The thing about burnout is I feel like it's really sneaky. Sometimes you don't even realize you're burnt out until you're like, oh my God, like I'm feeling exhausted and tired. So what I've learned to kind of prevent that is checking in with myself and then also checking in with the people that I care about. So for example, I'll kind of ask myself after a while, like, how am I feeling? Like, am I acting like myself? Because I think when you start to burn out, you start to amplify your best and your worst traits, right? Like maybe your things are dropping, or maybe you're overly attentive. You start to just like everything starts to amplify. So I try and check in with myself to see like, am I feeling like myself? And are things feeling good with me? And then I ask people that I care about because like sometimes you don't recognize things in yourself. So I'll ask my close like friends, and I'll ask maybe like a trusted colleague, like, hey, like how do you think things are going? And just kind of, get a mirror sort of reflected back on me if they think like I'm at a right energy pace. And then in terms of the things that I actually do, just spending time, like Sophie and Will said, like doing things with people I love, things that take you away from work or tasks. So like doing something that's really enjoyable, that's gonna like disconnect your brain or make your brain think in a different way. I think that's really, really important because that's the only way you're going to recharge. If you're constantly using the same muscle over and over again, that's not going to help your burnout. So just like you said, Meg, like if you're on the computer all day for your job and then you finish work and you're on the computer again, you're not really taking a break, right? That's going to contribute to your burnout. So it's like doing different things so different parts of your body and your brain are activated, I think will definitely help, or at least it does for me.
You made, as you were talking, you said something that like unlocked a memory in my brain that I had not even remembered was a thing. Um, the woman doesn't, I don't think she even works for Power to Fly anymore, but we had worked together pretty early on for Power to Fly. She was there when I started in 2019. And about halfway through 2020, I think, like a lot of people, I was going through a major mental health crisis. And I remember leaving an all hands meeting and she pinged me on Slack and goes, "Hey, I wanted to see, like, how are you doing?" And I was like, I'm okay, the kind of stuff you say to coworkers. And she was like, okay, I just wanted to check in because, and it struck me so adorable at the time because we had a language barrier, but she said, you seem like you've lost your muchness. And I said, and I looked at her and I was like, you don't think oh, you might be right. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And she goes, you don't seem like Meg. You've lost your muchness. Like she didn't know how else to say it. And I was like, that's actually perfect, Lucia. How did you see me? Oh my God. Like it was wonderful. So I absolutely agree with you. This like reflection with somebody else, like, hey, how does this look from the outside? Because from the inside, I feel like no one knows I'm failing. And then on the outside, you're like, no, people are aware. You're not doing well. It's okay. It's okay. Let's come talk to me. So I like this. I love this a lot, Jamila. Okay, I want to go to you for our next question first as well. All right, when it comes to tech, we can utilize tech, for better living through it. How do you utilize it to streamline your work processes and create more time? Because that's one of the things I feel like a lot of people feel is that like if we could streamline parts of our day, we'd have more time to do the things we actually want to do. So what do you do?
So I won't get into like the nuances of my job because people are going to be like, what are you talking about? Because they're not in that space. But a really general tip that I think a lot of people can potentially apply is in Outlook, I love to use the categorization feature. So I'm a very visual person. So what I mean by that is I go into my calendar and I color code the different types of meetings or different types of work that I have to do, and I give it a name. And what that allows me to do is see what my work week looks like or what my day looks like. And so I think something Sophie had mentioned earlier was looking at things that energize you, but I also look at things that require more of my energy where I know I'm going to be more tired. So I look at my calendar for the week. It's all color coded. So I know, okay, I'm going to do more facilitation that day, or that day I have to do more like data analysis or something. So then I'll try and strategically block in times to allow me to go for that walk or for me to do a different type of work. So I'm thinking differently. So I think just being able to use the technology you have or any tool that you're using every day to kind of like streamline and organize yourself allows you to create more of those moments to find that work-life balance.
I like this. Gosh, I talk a lot about myself in these chats, but I have bipolar disorder. So I live with a lot of this idea of like I could be manic one day and enter a depressive episode 2 days later. And so for me, a lot of times I do this where I will go look at my week and realize like, okay, I'm hosting 3 events this day. The next week is the summit, so I'm hosting every single day, blah blah, and I'll kind of plan out like, all right, this day I'm hosting the virtual job fair. I talk a lot, but it's not really much about me. And so it's not really a huge lift. So by the time I get done, like I'm tired, but not the worst. Then there's an event that I'm hosting that's like all day and it's like speed networking. That one is going to take all of my spoons. Like I am going to be so exhausted because I'm going to need to be bubbly and facilitating conversation and all this stuff. So like I know that's going to need a little bit more recovery time. So like that's the day I tell my husband like you're in charge of dinner. I love you so much, but I will not be speaking a single syllable once I get off the computer. And let's go play Nazi killing games. That's what I'd like to do. Just don't talk to me. Love you so much. So like it's that prep, right? It's kind of knowing in advance what you might need to recover from or to prep in advance, like to kind of psych yourself up. But I very much like this idea. This is really good. Are there certain things that you kind of misunderstood how it was going to impact you at first? Like obviously no system just pops up fully formed and perfect.
100%. Like there's certain things I used to do in my job that I thought were like, oh, just got me super excited. And they do, but I realize I'd crash after. So like if you're speaking to someone all day, especially if I'm an ambivert, so I'm extroverted sometimes, I'm introverted at other times. So I definitely need time to process and to like just be alone. So like after I'm doing something that requires a lot of like interaction with people, I realized, oh, I need downtime because I always thought it was one or the other. You're an extrovert or you're an introvert. And I was like, but that's not how I feel. And then I was like, oh, there's this thing called ambivert. I guess that's what I am. So that's what I've been doing is just like understanding myself more to give myself space. But I didn't always know that.
I mean, look, most of us have no idea. And if you are at all, I would say pretty much any generation prior to Alpha, most of us weren't raised to think about any of these things anyway. So I think you're right. I think there's a lot of us that are kind of coming late to the table, but we're in a large group as we get there. So nobody's by themselves. Sophie, I want to pull you up on stage and ask you the same question. What are some of the ways that you use technology to streamline your processes and create more time for your personal activities?
Sure. Also, Jamila, that was the coolest thing I've ever heard about your calendar, and I'm going to start doing that. So, I think one of the things I've found that helped a lot, and I don't know what it is in my personality that causes this, but when I feel like there's something I need to do that I haven't written down somewhere, it will almost like clog my brain and I'll either stress about it because it's there or I'll forget that it's part of the clog and then there's just like this kind of clog in my brain. So I think taking like the heat off yourself by scheduling even the smallest things, and I do it with my personal life as well. Hey, call that person, need to check in about that. I put it all in my schedule because it takes the mental effort and energy off of my brain so that when I'm actually doing other tasks, I can like pay attention to them properly. And absolutely anything that I can automate, I automate it. Just so that then I can, if something emergency comes up, which sometimes, yes, it does, then you can just put your energy to that and you don't need to worry about the sort of business as usual things that you need to do as well. Um, and also I'm using AI a lot. But what I'm using AI to do is use it for things that take me a long time to think about. So like there came to a point, you know, maybe a couple of years ago where I was like, I spent a lot of hours thinking about this, and maybe it's because, I don't know, my writing comprehension isn't awesome, so it takes a long time for me to get to the point. I don't know what it is, but I started to use AI for those kind of heavy lift thinking, brain thinking things, and it's helped me so much because now I'm spending time doing targeted strategic activities rather than like just spending hours thinking about how I'm going to write this thing and then, you know, and essentially it's not a massively high value activity either, you know. So that's what I've been trying to use AI to do as well.
I mean, I think it's genius. Like, if they're gonna, if the robots are gonna become our overlords one day, we might as well make the most of it right now, right?
Absolutely.
Um, and I think you're right. There's a ton of possibility within AI when it comes to something like this, because effectively AI isn't true artificial intelligence yet. It's just a series of logic gates. So as long as you can set, like, I love the automation angle as well, because I'm the same way. If I can automate, like, my dog food gets ordered through Chewy, because that way I don't have to remember that we didn't have food for the dog, but at the morning that they wake up, I don't have to try and then scramble and make, canned chicken and rice. Like, I don't have to worry about any of that. So I think you're right. I think that this idea of like work smarter, not harder, it doesn't have to get done in like milliseconds. It's just like, if it's not something you personally have to do, why can't the robot do it?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it up to them.
I love it. All right. Well, let's talk to you. You've been doing this for 25 years and working remote for 25 years. What are some of the ways that you utilize tech to streamline your work so that you have more personal time for yourself?
Well, first off, I for one welcome our new robot overlords. Um,
Suck
sorry,
up.
I love listening to this conversation, right? Because so I also color
Your
categorize my
job. They can barely toast like perfectly. Come on. It's fine.
yeah, listen all the time. I love it. I also color categorize my calendar, right? And as Sophie mentioned earlier, you know, in customer success, we're frontline facing, right? So, and I had this conversation yesterday. It's we don't have the luxury of shuffling things around as much as some other people do. And so, like for us, we need to be very focused on what we can do and when we can do it. So, like categorizing things on your calendar helps you with that. I also need to use AI more to offload some of those brain cycles that I am running out of as I get older and make sure that AI is doing some of that lifting for me so that I don't have to do it all myself. But to the question that you asked me over the last 25 years, right? Technology has really, really changed. And it's made it incredibly flexible for us to work from just about anywhere, which is a blessing and a curse, right? So I can work from anywhere, I can work from home, but what does make it really helpful is so I had PC issues a few weeks ago for like 3 days, and I worked from my phone for 3 days. Like I couldn't have done that 20 years ago. Probably couldn't have done that 10 years ago, right? And so when I need if there's like I mentioned earlier, like taking the kids somewhere, running an errand, something like that, I am able to be productive from my phone and actually still be able to work, whereas that would never have been possible before. So it's not as easy, right? But when you have tools like that, it helps you kind of balance because you are not locked down, right? You don't feel chained to a desk or a laptop or an office or something like that. Um, I loved what Jamila was saying. I didn't know the term ambivert, but that would describe me as well. And so making sure that you are reserving that downtime because I'm the exact same way. We work with customers every day. We have long sessions, we have workshops, we facilitate, and those are exhausting. Right? Those types of things are exhausting. So you definitely need to block that time off and make sure that you are reserving that time to just recover, right, from things like that. So I'm getting more tips from this session than giving tips, which I love. So I'm very excited about that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Will. All right, Sophie, we're going to go back to you. What advice would you give to someone who is struggling to find that balance between their work and their personal life? If they are just like not finding it, or everything just feels off, where would you, what would you tell this person first?
Um, I would tell this person to um, do their best to take the pressure off themselves to fix it immediately. Because, and this is a quite recent lesson for me, but when I stopped worrying about fixing the problem now, it fixed itself slowly but surely over like a period of time by just being consistent about the things that we've been discussing in this session, making sure you take time for yourself, spend time doing things you love, then those things naturally expand. So when I think about all the pressure I was putting on myself to balance my life back out, I mean, I could have done the same thing without the pressure. So
Right.
I think just slow down. You've got time, take the pressure off and give yourself give yourself the respect to go and find the things that you love because you deserve it, and just don't worry about it too much.
I like
Famous last
this.
word.
No, no, but I think this is good advice. It really is. It's the other part of it that's also here is the fact that like work-life balance or work-life integration, it means something different to everyone, right? Some people really want that personal time to be able to have to themselves. Other people, it's just like, yeah, I don't really care. I just want to be able to work when I want to work. You know what I mean? So I think it is really important to recognize that like that balance is going to look different for everybody. And also the fact that that balance is going to change, right? Like I'm finding this with like some of my friends because my friends have very small children right now, and so there's a lot of stuff going on where my one friend who is generally pretty career driven has been kind of stepping back from stuff, and she mentioned like not doing something, and I was like, oh, what's going on with that? And she was like, well, my kid's in pre-K and I want to be able to see this and hear this and blah blah. But then like in a couple of years when he's going back into school, then I'm going to pull back a bit and take more of a lead in my career. And I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, okay, that actually makes a ton of sense because it's not that you have to come up with a work-life balance that works from now to the end of your career. This isn't a set it and forget it. It is a what do I need now? Am I being pulled far more in the work direction? And it's something that can't really be pushed aside. So this is what the balance is going to look like now. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we need to give ourselves grace for as well, is that these things will change. Will, how do you feel about this?
So I think you just gave me the softball, right, Meg? Because I mean, if you look at my profile and you've listened to any of the comments I've made, right? It's I lead with my family. That's kind of where I am, right? My kids, my family, and I think the key for this one, right, is that everybody needs to figure out what your why is, and that's what it comes down to. So I mean, work-life balance will ebb and flow. It will always ebb and flow. I've been in untenable situations where it never slowed down, right? And so you've got to make some decisions and you've got to really critically think about why you're doing what you're doing and what is your end goal, right? What are you really trying to accomplish? What's most important for you? For me, it's not work, right? I love the people I work with. I love my job. I love what we're doing, but it's just not the most important thing for me, right? And so you've got to decide what it is that you want. Some people live to work, some people work to live. I mean, it's all about what you're passionate about. And I think back to something Jamila said earlier, right, when she was talking about how she checks on herself and she checks with her loved ones, right? And when I have been in those untenable situations where there just wasn't a light at the end of the tunnel, I talked to my wife and we had decided that we were okay with the impact to our family so long as we knew that it was temporary. And once that got past the point of it being temporary and it became the norm, you have to stop and you have to go back and ask yourself, what's my why? Why am I doing this? And what's more important? What's the most important thing to me? And so, I mean, I'm glad that she mentioned that because that's exactly what I've had to do in my life, in my career. And you make some decisions, right? And they're difficult decisions, but they're really important to making sure because you've got to define what that equilibrium is before you can actually strive to achieve it.
Yeah. No, I think you make Oh my gosh, so many incredible points here, but you're right. It's that check-in, right? And it's remembering that if you are when we're doing these check-ins, it's not always like, hey, I'm not doing well. I'm checking in with you so that I can talk about how I'm not doing well, right? We do these a lot because that way, if you are met with a I'm not doing well, you're like, okay, awesome. Now we're up to speed. So it's that communication angle, right? And understanding that these priorities will change, but if we are on the same page as far as why we need to do the things that we're doing when we're doing them, then it's a lot easier to try and figure out how these things are going to fit together. If you are doing all, if you have this great high paying job and all this stuff, so you can provide well for your family. Excellent. So then let's say that the follow up to that is, well, I want to spend as much time with my family as possible. Okay, great. You know what I mean? Like kind of follow the steps that way and just realize that like if it's not working, you can change it. You're the one that made up the rules and made up the boundaries. So, if it's not working, let's go back to the drawing board, try it again. Let's see here. Okay. One of the things that is really important to people, especially if they're looking to change jobs, is knowing that the company that they're going to join also, finds work-life balance to be important. What are some of the ways that Vericent's company culture supports this balance and it makes it possible for y'all to maintain these boundaries that you love so much? Sophie, do you want to start us?
Yeah, sure. Um, I'm really happy to have this question, because when you work in customer success, you're working interdepartmentally, and so it would be really easy for a lot of my colleagues to speak to me during times either before I work, so the Romania team they're on before I start working, and the US, Canada, rest of world team to speak to me once I'm done. But I feel, or in my experience, and I do feel that there's a really good sort of line of respect and understanding for when people's working hours actually are, and we have them tagged so you can check where what someone's time zone is, so you know. And to be honest, I haven't experienced anyone like getting in touch with me really big time outside my working hours unless I've offered and it's an emergency. Sometimes those things happen. It's always, might always happen. But only when I've, offered has been my experience. And we also have quite a flexible sort of working model. So I found that, if something in your personal life just needs to happen, there's no getting around it. No one's calling you up while you're, I don't know, ill or something. Where are you? You'll make back the time another time, and it's all good as long as you plan for it. You're all good. And the last thing I want to say, which is probably like one of my favorite things about working with the team here, is that I've found there's not a big culture of blaming, shaming, where were you, blah, 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 which I've definitely experienced in other places. And that kind of takes the pressure off as well. So then that person isn't contacting you outside your outside business hours because they're getting pressure from someone else, so they're blaming blah blah blah. So because it's all like a big vicious circle. So that's been my
Oh, yeah.
experience. And yeah.
I like that. I think you're right. It does kind of get into a little bit of a hot potato game there, right? Because everybody's like, oh, I don't want to be the one. It wasn't my fault. I promise. It was them. So I think, yeah, I think that's a very good way to look at it, honestly. Jamila, how do you feel about this? What do you think the support is like from the company to keep that work-life balance?
Think Sophie did a great job of like highlighting the things that I was going to say already. But I think Vericent does a great job of intentionally creating that work flexibility so people can show up how they need to. And I feel like the people leaders that we have here are also, just to Sophie's point, so understanding, and also team members. Like one of our values is be kind. And I feel like Vericenters very much exemplify that all the time. Like, I don't think I've ever met anybody at this company who wasn't a lovely, thoughtful person. I just feel like because we all understand that we're a global company, we all understand that we're in different time zones. I think people are always doing their best to make sure, okay, we need to get this done, but let's do it in a respectful and thoughtful way. So I just feel like to echo exactly what Sophie said, not to steal her answers, but to just concur, I will add a tick to what she already said. I think, yeah, people are just very thoughtful here. They're cognizant of the environment we have and the flexibility around that, and we work with each other to make sure that it's a great environment for everyone.
Very cool. Will, how about you? I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so I'll be quick because I just realized that this hour is going really fast, Meg.
I told you, I always tell people and they never believe me, ever. It
That's
goes
right.
so fast.
So I'll echo what they both said already, right? The company has a number of programs in place to help you with work-life balance. But the thing for me, right, that really stands out, and this is related to the comment I made in the last one, where, when things become untenable and you're in a difficult situation, the difference here is that I have very strong, very empathetic, and just lovely leadership, right, in my organization. So up to the C-suite in our organization, and Sophie and I are in the same organization. I think she would echo what I'm saying. It's just we have very supportive people, right? So the difference is when that workload becomes abnormally high, they're not saying go get it done. They're like, how can we help? We recognize that you're under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. Let's take some things off your plate. Let's work to fix the situation long term. That's a huge difference, right? Than a lot of companies. A lot of companies will just put it on you and say, find a way to get this done, right? That's not what I've seen from our leadership at Varicent.
No, I think you're right. I think it is really helpful because if the importance of the work-life balance and what it enables an employee to then bring to the table is so into the benefit of the workforce that it's like, guys, this is basic. Like you should want this to be a thing. So knowing that like a company's already on board with that idea is huge to start with. So I mean, like knowing that even without all of the other things in place, that this is still something that's top of mind for them is massive. And so I think that that's really a good thing to hear about this org. Okay, we've got about 8 minutes left. I want to go into a couple of questions kind of more centered around Varicent. So I'm going to go to each of y'all in turn for this. I want to know how y'all would describe the company culture at Varicent. So let's see. Will, I'm going to give you a point on this one. Jamila's going to go first on the second question, and Sophie's going to go first on the last. So how would you describe the company culture if you had to in a word?
Adventurous.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. Jamila, what's your word?
I would say collaborative.
That's a good one. Okay. Sophie, how about you?
Mine's kind of close, cooperative.
Cooperative. Good. I love this. Okay, good, good, good. All right. My next question is your favorite part about working at Varicent. Now, obviously, there's no way a one-word answer is going to cut it for this. But Jamila, I want to go to you first. What is your favorite part about working at Varicent?
It's literally the people. I know I've said it a few times, but honestly, like it makes a huge difference when you work with kind, funny, smart people. And I feel like that's our population. Everybody's like the best at what they do, or they're learning to become the best at what they do. We work really well, we knowledge share. So it's always the people.
I love that. All right, Sophie, how about you?
Feel we're all going to say the same thing. As I have said and will always say it's the people 100%. I've never met people like them, and it just impacts your life so positively, genuinely.
Yeah, of course. Will, how about you?
I'm going to surprise you with my answer and go with the people. I know it's the cliche and easy thing to say, but it's true, right? I mean, we've talked about it in this hour. The people people I trust brought me into this company, and I get to work with them every day, right? It's absolutely the best part about working here.
All right, Sophie. I mean, here's the thing. I think y'all say the same thing for the same reason, and it's not. I always ask this question, even though we almost always get the same answer. And the reason I always ask it is because I don't think it bears repeating often enough. These are the people that you are going to spend more waking hours with than you will likely spend with your family in the given week or 6 months of the year. So it is incredibly important that it's around people that you can stand. Because I don't know about you, but my patience for jerks is very low. So I think that's a massive point. And I think it also goes to show that companies live and die not just by things like their ERGs and how inclusive they are, but also by the employees. is this a good place? Is this someplace that you want to hang out and stick around? I mean, that is fundamentally what we're trying to figure out when we're trying to find a new place to work is like, am I going to be miserable here? I would like to not be miserable. Thank you. Okay, my last one. This is your top tip for someone who's interviewing. So let's see. Sophie, you're gonna go first on this one, and then we'll go to Will and then Jamila. So if you have a friend that's gonna come and interview at Varicent on Monday, what would you tell them?
So I would tell them to be yourself. I think on the whole, we all value honesty and authenticity, and it's arguably what keeps our nice culture ticking along. We've spoken a lot about the people and the impact they have on us, but it is also down to the fact that a lot of the people that work here are authentic. They come as themselves. We're all different, and that adds to the enjoyment, and all that kind of stuff. So be yourself. No one's scared of individuality here. The hiring manager is certainly not, and that would be my best advice.
I like it. Jamila, what would you tell someone if you've got a friend that's gonna come interview? What do you say to them before they go in?
Yeah, I echo what Sophie said. As soon as she said it, I was like, no. But definitely be yourself. Also, not to brag, but we have a great talent acquisition team here at Varicent. And I'm not just saying that because they are in my department and also wonderful colleagues, but they are fantastic at what they do, and they really prep you and prepare you, for the interview, and do a really great job of partnering with our hiring managers. So when you come in, you can be confident knowing that you're going to have a great experience. So shout out to our TA team.
Awesome. I love this. All right. Will, what is your top tip? Somebody's coming in, they're going to interview. What do you say to them?
Yeah. So this one is not specific to Varicent. This is something that I learned many, many years ago from an author trainer named Matthew Marvin. He wrote this book called Nailed It, and it's interviewing tips. And I call this the cheat code. So everybody knows you need to come in with questions, right? That's nothing new. But the last question that you ask before you walk out of that room is, what gives you the most confidence that I am the right person for this role? And it's unfair. It's really unfair, Meg, because what that does is it does two things. One, you've just caused all your interviewers to focus on all the right reasons why you are the appropriate candidate for this role. And two, when they walk out of that room, the last thing that they're thinking about is how you're the right person for that role. So it really is a cheat code, in my opinion, but they do your work for you in the interview.
6 years, y'all. 6 years I've been doing this, and I have never had anybody say that. This is why I love my job. This is why I love doing this. That's genius. That is genius. My favorite one is how do you reward success and recognize failure?
Mm.
But yours is good. That's a good one. Oh, Will, I have so many friends looking for jobs that are going to be so happy that I got to talk to you today. Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay. All right. With that mic drop of a comment, I think we're going to probably have to round it up. Will, Jamila, and Sophie, thank you all. Thank you all so, so much for taking time out of your day to be here with us. All of the prep work that goes in on this does not go unnoticed. And there are a lot of people behind the scenes on both the Varicent team as well as the Power to Fly team to thank for putting together today's event. But I want to say especially a big thank you to you three because you came up here, agreed to be transparent for us, and let us take advantage of your expertise. So thank you so, so much to each of you. I really hope that we get to do this again soon.
Thank you, Meg.
Thank you.
Thanks, Meg. You were awesome as well.
Thank you. I do my best. All right, now to all of our attendees, thank you all so, so much for coming today. Whether today was your first event or your 50th, I sincerely hope it will not be your last. Now, obviously, I love that you come to these events because I have a job, but I love that you come to these events even more because you just took 60 minutes out of your day to do something positive for yourself and your career. It is not easy. It is not like a simple thing in this world. So listen to Meg, whether or not you're a little treat person, give yourself the gold cookie, pat on the back, gold star, whatever it is, cup of coffee, whatever's your thing. Just make sure that you reward yourself for this. Okay. That's a big deal. I also want to say a massive thank you to all of the behind the scenes team as well, who enables me to get up here and look so good. Thank you so, so much to all of you. You know who you are. And the last thing I want to highlight is Power to Fly. So what you're looking at on the screen right now is Varicent's company page. I want to make sure that y'all take a look at that and make sure that you head over there, especially if anything that we've said today really piques your interest about Varicent. Now, don't forget, you can take a look at the jobs portal, or sorry, the job seeker tab there to take a look at open roles. But the other thing that this page is good for is research ahead of your job interview. So take a look. There's great content in here. There's videos, there's blog posts, all kinds of stuff that can make really, really good interview questions. If you want to follow up on something or let them know that you really, kind of went the extra mile and researched the company. So take advantage of that if you can. And again, whether today was your first event with Power to Fly or your 50th, I sincerely hope it will not be your last. Go out, have the day that you voted for, and hopefully we will see y'all back here sooner rather than later. Bye.